What's up, everyone? Welcome back to King Anime Review, and for this video, I'll be talking about the 8th Hokage of the Hidden Leaf Village, Shikamaru Nora. I'll be talking about how powerful he is and explaining whether or not it makes sense that he was chosen to be the 8th Hokage. Now, I think he was chosen to be 8th Hokage strictly due to narrative reasons. I don't think he was the best candidate at all, but I think Kishimoto chose him for storytelling reasons specifically, and mainly that's the reason why he became the 8th Hokage. It's not because he was the best candidate, because he simply wasn't. Now, Kishimoto could make this make sense from a narrative point of view, but so far in 4 chapters of Two Blue Vortex that has been officially released, Kishimoto has not made it make sense. He hasn't, fully explained why Shikamaru was chosen, even though he's not the best candidate. Now, I think there are some logical explanations that Kishimoto could give to why Shikamaru was chosen to be the 8th Hokage over a more worthy candidate. There are some logical explanations, and I'm going to be getting into that in this video. Now, in my Boruto 2 Blue Vortex Chapter 1 review, I said Shikamaru isn't even in the top 10 strongest characters in the Hidden Leaf Village, and I stand on that. There's factually 5 characters who are stronger than him, and that's not even debatable. And then there's 5 other characters who I think are debatably stronger than him. Now, as far as the 5 characters that are factually stronger than him, you have Daemon, Ida, Kawaki, Sarada, and Sakura. They are all stronger than Shikamaru factually. They all scale above him factually. And if you don't believe me, all you gotta do is watch or read 2 fights. Well, actually, you should read the 2 fights that I'm about to mention. The Naruto versus Delta fight and the Team 7 versus Boruto fight. Now, in the Naruto versus Delta fight, Kawaki had to save Naruto from Delta's beam. Kawaki moved faster than Naruto in that fight because obviously if Naruto could have moved out the way and saved his daughter and not cost Kawaki's armor in the process, Naruto would have done that. So Kawaki had to save Naruto in his battle against Delta, and he moved fast enough to save KCM 2 plus 6-path stage mode Naruto. So Kawaki actually scales above KCM 2 plus 6-path stage mode Naruto and Delta in terms of speed. That same Kawaki fought Boro, and Boro was capable of reacting to him. And that same Boro was blitzed by Sarada. And in the manga, Boro was trying to wave signs, but he couldn't wave hand signs fast enough to move his core. And he ended up getting blitzed by Sarada. So that means Sarada scales above Delta in terms of speed. That's factual. So that also means she scales above Shikamaru in terms of speed. And then also she has the manga kill Sharingan. She could literally just one-shot Shikamaru with a Genjutsu. And that's why I find it funny that in Chapter 4 of Two Blue Vortex, Shikamaru was talking about, do you want to make the current Hokage mad? And it's like, bro, you're pathetic. Both of these characters, he was talking to Kawaki and Sarada. Both of those characters, they would literally one-shot him, bro. He's literally fodder compared to them. And he's, is like, are they supposed to be scared of you, bro? Like, you're pathetic. Anyways, yeah, this guy, Shikamaru, and so I already gave you the first 5 characters who are factually stronger than Shikamaru. Now, the next 5 are debatable. You have Delta, Rock Lee, Choji, and Kakashi, and Tsunade. Tsunade, I think, is debatable. Shikamaru could, be stronger than her, which would only make him the 10th strongest character in the village, and that's pretty pathetic for Hokage. Now, granted, the Hokage is not solely based on power. Really, who becomes Hokage is more so a popularity contest, but as far as the considerations, they do consider, like, your notoriety and your status when they determine who should be the next Hokage, as well as your power. That plays a little bit into it because your power as a ninja affects your status and your overall notoriety in the shinobi world. That's the case with that. But with that being said, it was stated several times that the Hokage is the strongest in the village. And in the case of Shikamaru, he's nowhere near the strongest in the village. Like, he might be barely top 10 at most. Whereas most of the other Hokage were the strongest character in the village when they were chosen to be Hokage. The only other exception is Kakashi and maybe Naruto. Now, in the case with Naruto, I would say he was the strongest in the village when he became the Hokage. However, Sasuke was technically, kind of like outside of the village and stuff like that. You can make the argument that he was tied for being the strongest in the village, or you could say he's number 2 due to Sasuke's hacks. I think Sasuke's hacks, if he wasn't nerfed for the sake of plot, would give him a massive edge over Naruto in a 1v1 death battle. However, Sasuke was like, wandering around, searching after Kage and stuff like that. So, I don't really count Sasuke. So Naruto was the strongest when he became the Hokage. He was the strongest in the village. But after he lost Kurama, he dropped below the top 5. And I already got a video talking about 5 characters stronger than Naruto. After Naruto lost Kurama, 5 characters that are stronger than him in the Hidden Leaf Village. I already got a whole video on that. Now, I'll give Naruto a pass for that because he was already the Hokage when he lost Kurama. I obviously didn't expect him to step down just because he lost a massive amount of power, and now there were 5 characters in his own village stronger than him. In the case with Kakashi, Kakashi is probably the only other exception alongside Shikamaru where when he became Hokage, he definitely wasn't the strongest in the village. Naruto was undeniably stronger than Kakashi when Kakashi became the Hokage. Now, the power thing is not all about power when it comes to Hokage. It's not like the strongest character in the village is automatically made the Hokage. Really, the Hokage is, a popularity contest, because the way it's worked ever since Hashirama became the Hokage is there's basically a meeting with, 5 advisors from the Land of Fire, 5 advisors from the Hidden Leaf Village, and the so-called feudal lord of the Land of Fire. They have a meeting and they determine who becomes the Hokage. So basically, the 5 advisors from the Land of Fire, they make recommendations. The 5 advisors from the Hidden Leaf Village makes recommendations. And then the so-called feudal lord of the Land of Fire makes the decision. He makes the appointment. He decides who becomes the Hokage. But in order for the person who he appoints to become Hokage, officially, he or she has to pass the Jonin's vote of approval, which is why Danzo was never officially made Hokage, because he didn't pass the Jonin's vote of approval. So it's kind of like a popularity contest in that way. So, but the thing is, they factor in when they're making their recommendations, they go off of mainly notoriety and power. Notoriety and power are kind of like, in the ninja world, they're kind of like intertwined, because you usually gain notoriety, due to how strong you are. You gain notoriety in the shinobi world. Now, in the case with Shikamaru, I can see why the appointment for him was made, because while he's definitely not well known worldwide for his power, he is well known worldwide for the most part, or at least in the shinobi world, he's known for his intellect. So, I mean, people know who his dad was. His dad was basically like, the head strategist of the allied shinobi forces, and then he kind of like passed that on to Shikamaru a little bit, but Naruto was kind of like the main one leading the allied shinobi forces. But Shikamaru was coming up with strategies, motivating people along the way. And on top of that, he did get a lot of credit for, the whole Tonari thing, even though mainly Naruto was the one who, stopped Tonari, Naruto, and Hinata. But everybody who went on that mission was announced as the people who saved the world, from Tonari, because, it was, 5 characters who went on that mission: Sai, Naruto, Sakura, Hinata, and Shikamaru. So, and they were all announced as basically the people who saved the world. Now, that gives Sakura and Shikamaru
a huge edge,
because that was pretty well known in the shinobi world for the whole Tonari incident. Like I said, Kishimoto could, explain things, but so far he hasn't explained things in a way that makes sense why Shikamaru was chosen over Sakura, who's a much better candidate. Sakura's stronger than Shikamaru, and she's not that far behind him in terms of intellect. So I think Sakura, and I think it's factual that Sakura was a better candidate than Shikamaru. And plus, in terms of the Hokage lineage, the Hokage tree, most Hokage are usually trained or related to a previous Hokage. They're usually trained by or related to a previous Hokage. Shikamaru, that's really not the case with him. He was trained by Asuma, who was related to the 3rd Hokage, but Asuma wasn't trained, as far as we know, by any previous Hokage. And in the case with Sakura, she was trained by Kakashi. She was on Kakashi's team, and she was also trained by Tsunade. And she's factually stronger than Shikamaru. And if you want to, debate that, all you got to do is look at the Shin Uchiha fight. Yes, Naruto and Sasuke were factually nerfed in that fight, because Sasuke was running low on chakra from going in and out of Kaguya's dimensions with his Rinnegan. That was actually stated in the series. And then Naruto was rusty. However, with that being said, Shin Uchiha was still capable of reacting to and kind of like fighting Naruto and Sasuke a little bit. And he was able to kind of do damage to him. And Sakura was capable of blitzing Shin and like one-shotting him. So Sakura is at least relative to, Boruto era Naruto and Sasuke before they got nerfed, before Sasuke lost the Rinnegan and Naruto lost Kurama. So Sakura is at least relative to them. Whereas you can't say the same thing for Shikamaru. And I'm going to get into a lot of the feats that people try to bring up for Shikamaru. But yeah, Sakura is factually stronger than Shikamaru. Shikamaru, yes, he is, very smart. But, Kishimoto has to explain this in a way that makes sense. Because I can see him saying something like, and I've heard some other people say this in some of their videos and stuff. They said, oh, maybe Sakura wasn't chosen because, she's the wife of Sasuke, and Sasuke just, left the Hidden Leaf Village, so he might be branded as a traitor now. So maybe Sakura would be untrustworthy by the elders for that reason. And maybe that's why she wasn't recommended, or that's why she wasn't chosen, due to her connection with Sasuke. That's a valid point. However, Kishimoto never explained that in the manga. In fact, Sakura hasn't even appeared in Two Blue Vortex yet. So Kishimoto has to explain that. Otherwise, it's really not going to make sense that Shikamaru was chosen over Sakura. Now, I think Kishimoto did it for narrative reasons, because I think he wanted to create an antagonistic, drama with Shikamaru and Sarada. So I think that's the main reason why Shikamaru was chosen. Now, I think he was probably the second best candidate to be chosen after Sakura, but he's certainly like not in the top 10 strongest characters in Village. I already said that. But Sakura, she would have been at least in the top 5, at least in the top 5. And then you got characters like Rock Lee with the 8 gates. You got Choji, who has always been stronger than Shikamaru pretty much. And like Shikamaru, he's really not that strong. So Sakura would have been a much better option. Now, there are a couple other things that people point out. Some people say, oh, well, Shikamaru would make sense because he was Naruto's right-hand man. He was Naruto's advisor as Hokage. He already knew what, the top secret stuff in the village. He knew what was going on in the village, the stuff with the motto. He was in on a lot of the politics in the Hidden Leaf Village. And that is true. However, Shikamaru could have just stayed an advisor. Like, he could have been the advisor for Sakura. He could have been, the right-hand man for Sakura. So he didn't need to become Hokage. And he really wasn't strong enough to be Hokage. And another thing I find weird is that it seems like Konohamaru is his aide, which is kind of strange because you would think that Choji would be chosen for that role, but instead Konohamaru got it. But I digress on that. But yeah, Shikamaru, so that stuff makes sense as far as the politics go. However, like I said, he could have remained an advisor. He could have remained like, the chief aide for the Hokage. He could have been the chief aide for Sakura as Hokage. So he didn't need to become Hokage. I don't think he was really the most qualified in the village to become Hokage. Now, I can even, honestly speaking, I think you can even make a good argument for Rock Lee or Choji being chosen. As a matter of fact, I think Rock Lee, from a narrative standpoint, would have been a better option. And obviously, a lot of that drama with Shikamaru and Sarada wouldn't have been there. And I think, like I said, I think Shikamaru was mainly chosen for storytelling reasons because the whole drama that Kishimoto was trying to create with, Sarada and Shikamaru. But I think it would have made more sense, like, for Rock Lee's character if he was chosen. And I think Rock Lee is stronger than Shikamaru. I'm going to get into the power scale in a little bit later. But Rock Lee, if you think about it, his whole goal was to prove to the world that he could be a strong shinobi too, even if he doesn't have ninjutsu or genjutsu. Now, I would say he kind of fulfilled that goal. He proved that he's a strong ninja throughout the entire series, from the Gaara battle, the Chunin exams, all the way up until the 4th Great Ninja War. He proved to all of his comrades and really most characters in the village. And if you want to include the allied shinobi forces, he was even able to, cut off Madara's. He kicked Madara and cut off his connection to the Ten Tails briefly. You could argue that, yeah, Rock Lee, he gained recognition as a qualified shinobi, as a capable shinobi too, even though he doesn't have ninjutsu or genjutsu. I mean, he was a Chunin. He was, chosen to be a part of the allied shinobi forces. So you can make the argument, yeah, he kind of already fulfilled his goal. But he would have been fulfilling his goal to a much bigger extent if he was chosen to be Hokage, because Hokage is kind of like well-known worldwide, and they're like the top dog in terms of political power. They're like the top dog in the entire shinobi world. And Rock Lee becoming Hokage would have been very fitting for his goal. But I digress on that. Yeah, I think he's stronger than Shikamaru. I think if you want to debate that, I think it would be kind of strange. I mean, what is Shikamaru going to do against the 8 gates? I know that's going to, kill Rock Lee, but still, he would one-shot Shikamaru, most likely. But anyways, yeah, let's get on to some other stuff. So I already explained the whole thing with the politics. I don't think that's necessarily a good reason for Shikamaru being Hokage, because he could have remained the aide. But like I said, I can see a good reason being mentioned that, Sakura wasn't chosen because of her connection with Sasuke. She's married to Sasuke, and maybe that's why the advisors, they may have recommended, it may have been some advisors recommending for Sakura to be Hokage, but they may have turned her down, or it may have not been enough people recommending her due to her. Maybe it's some suspicion going on with her because, she's connected to Sasuke. She's married to Sasuke, and he recently left the Hidden Leaf Village. He may be regarded as a traitor of the Hidden Leaf Village now. So I can understand why they would overlook Sakura, even though she's the much better, much more qualified candidate than Shikamaru. And when you look at feats and, achievements, Shikamaru, he did get credit for the whole moon incident with Tonari. However, Sakura also got credit because she was on that mission, and they announced her as one of the heroes as well. However, she also, literally saved the entire shinobi world alongside the rest of Team 7 due to the Kaguya battle. And I'm pretty sure most people knew about that because it was even stated in, I believe in chapter 699, that one of the reasons why Sasuke was allowed to, be pardoned and to roam free is because of his contributions to ending the 4th Great Ninja War. So if they knew about Sasuke's contributions, they most likely knew about Sakura's contributions. So she was like one of the key figures in ending the 4th Great Ninja War. And so with all of that being said, I can understand why Shikamaru would be chosen if if Kishimoto explained it logically in the series why he was chosen to be Hokage over a much better candidate like Sakura. And I already explained why Sakura was a much better candidate. I mean, if you look at their feats throughout the series, like I said, Sakura, she saved the world really 2 times. The Kaguya battle and the whole Tonari thing. And Shikamaru, you could say he kind of helped save the world once in that regard. He did help out in the 4th grade Ninja War as well. It's not like he didn't have any feats in that. But, you know, Sakura was more impressive. She did more in the 4th grade Ninja War. In terms of going back to when they were kids, Shikamaru was the first of his class to be made Chunin. However, he kind of had a cakewalk in the Chunin exams. The only hard opponent he really fought was Tamori. Other than that, he had like a cakewalk in the Chunin exams. That girl that he fought, you know, Kim from the Sound, you know, from the Sound Village, she wasn't that strong. I think Ino was stronger than her, and Sakura, you know, she had a tie with Ino. So I think Sakura had a harder time in the Chunin exam. She had a harder opponent to beat because I'm pretty sure King is stronger than, I'm pretty sure Ino is stronger than King. So yeah, that's the case with that. Sakura also took down a Akatsuki member. Granted, Shikamaru did the same thing after, you know, planning things out with strategy and stuff. It took him 2 tries because, you know, the first time he fought against Hidan, he couldn't beat him. But, you know, after planning things out with strategy and prep time, he was able to beat Hidan the second time. Sakura, she beat an Akatsuki member on her first try. Yes, she had help from Chiyo, you could say. But, you know, I would say at the very least, you know, Sakura did play a huge role in beating Sasori. Yeah, and I would say Sasori is actually stronger than Hidan, by the way. But, yeah, so that's the stuff with Sakura. Now, some people may say, oh, well, Sakura, she's the head of the medical unit. Now, that could be a valid reason. They could, but like I said, Kishimoto hasn't explained why Sakura wasn't chosen over Shikamaru, even though she should have been. Now, as far as the whole medical unit thing, Tsunade was the head medical ninja in the Hidden Leaf Village, but, you know, she was also the Hokage at the same time. She was able to train Sakura and Ino during the, you know, time skip between part 1, Naruto and Shippuden. She was able to train them. She was capable of training both of them and being like the top medical ninja in the Hidden Leaf Village while simultaneously fulfilling her roles as Hokage. So if Tsunade can do it, then Sakura could do it. Let's get into Shikamaru's feats. So there's a couple feats that people try to bring up for Shikamaru. Now, firstly, the main thing that they bring up is the stuff from the Shikamaru novel. Now, the novels, I don't usually take all of them seriously because I think some of them kind of have some things that maybe contradict the source material. Like, I was hearing some people talking about a novel saying that Sasuke was on probation, even though that wouldn't make any type of logical sense. It wouldn't fit with the manga at all or the anime, because in the manga and the anime, it was stated that Sasuke was pardoned, meaning he was, you know, basically no longer held criminally responsible for his crimes. All of his crimes were forgiven. He was no longer held criminally responsible or legally responsible for his crimes that he committed. So I kept on hearing people talking about, you know, one of them novels saying that Sasuke was on probation, which obviously would go against, you know, contradict the source material. So that's one of the reasons I don't really take all of those novels seriously. But one of the novels, the Shikamaru novel, I actually read some of it. I didn't read the whole thing. I don't got time for all that. I don't really care about reading the Shikamaru novel. But I did read the part that people try to use as a power feat for Shikamaru. Now, in this scene, there's a 5 Kage summit going on. And, you know, the Kage were arguing. And then Shikamaru put them all in the shadow possession jutsu. Now, here's the thing that people fail to mention with that scene when they're trying to use it as a feat. Basically, Shikamaru caught all of them off guard. Or at the very least, you can't say that they were on guard when he put them in the shadow possession jutsu, because they were all arguing with each other, or, you know, they were arguing and stuff, and they were talking with each other. And we know, we've seen Kage summits in the anime and stuff and in the manga. You know, obviously, the Kage are all usually looking at each other. They're not usually looking at the aides or the bodyguards of, you know, their fellow Kage. So most likely, none of the Kage even seen Shikamaru wave the hand signs for the shadow possession jutsu. And then also in that scene, it said, like, you know, they were all, you know, put in the shadow possession jutsu, and Naruto was capable of breaking it after, you know, some glowing, like, you know, he started to glow. It was like an orange glow or whatever. Some people say that that's KCM, but it's not even confirmed that Naruto went into KCM mode. He could have just used a little bit of Nine Tails chakra or whatever. But he did that mainly to, you know, scare off Shikamaru, and also like to make it clear that he wasn't going to tolerate any nonsense in front of the other Kage. I'm pretty sure Naruto got mad during that scene, and he was even questioning Shikamaru after that, asking him, hey, why did you do that? So Naruto, he may not have necessarily even needed to do that, but I think he was just mad during that scene. But anyways, factually, you can't say that Shikamaru caught all of them, like, with that shadow possession jutsu while they were on guard. They were most likely off guard when he did that. So that doesn't even count as a feat. People try to use that as a speed feat for Shikamaru. That doesn't even make sense, bro. It's not a speed feat. He basically caught them all off guard. It's not a speed feat. And there's nothing saying that, you know, he would have been able to one-shot them with that. So and I heard some people talk about a scene later on in that novel that Shikamaru couldn't break a tree with a shadow possession jutsu. I haven't confirmed that. I haven't read the full novel. I haven't confirmed that. But what I did confirm is that Shikamaru, he did not catch them on guard. They were all pretty much off guard, most likely, when he used the shadow possession jutsu. And you can't factually say otherwise. So I don't count that as a speed feat for Shikamaru. You could just say he got lucky. He most likely wouldn't have been fast enough to hit him with a shadow possession jutsu, if they were on guard. Now, also, people try to use the Momoshiki and Kinshiki thing where Shikamaru put Momoshiki and Kinshiki in the shadow position jutsu. Now, once again, neither one of them were looking at Shikamaru, and thus they weren't on guard. They weren't. They didn't even know he was doing. Like, he kind of caught him off guard, basically. Again, so it's not a speed feat for Shikamaru, and Momoshiki was able to instantly absorb that with his Rinnegan. So that's not a feat for Shikamaru at all. So people need to stop using these weak little feats to try to make Shikamaru seem faster and stronger than he is. Now, then there's something in the anime. I'm going to briefly mention this. This is not really relevant because this only happened in the anime. But Shikamaru was capable of stopping Borushiki with the shadow possession jutsu, and he made a bold claim. He said, "You're not going to be able to absorb my shadow," which is very stupid. That was one of the dumbest changes that the anime has ever made in the entire franchise of Naruto, because we literally seen in the anime and in the manga, we seen Kawaki absorb Shikamaru's shadow possession jutsu right before the Boro fight with his karma seal. So him telling Borushiki, who has the karma, that you're not going to be able to absorb my shadow makes no sense at all. When in the manga, during that, cold arc, Momoshiki actually did absorb the shadow possession jutsu in that same scene during that fight. And after that, during the what people are calling the prophecy arc, when Kawaki was in the shadow possession jutsu, Miski had to hold his hand and to try to prevent him from being able to absorb Shikamaru's shadow possession jutsu. And then Momoshiki absorbed Shikamaru's shadow possession jutsu with his karma seal, or shall I say Borushiki. So that whole scene, the whole change that the anime made makes no sense at all. I don't know what they were thinking when making that change, but it's actually a plot hole. So it could be a plot hole, or you could just say Shikamaru was bluffing and Momoshiki was dumb enough to fall for Shikamaru's bluff. I guess you could say that, but that's a stretch. That whole thing was a dumb little change that the anime made, a very dumb change that the anime made. So yeah, that's the case with that. Now moving on to some other supposed feats for Shikamaru. Shikamaru dodged a kick from Delta. Here's what you got to keep in mind. Shikamaru, he knew that the kick was coming. Delta walked up slowly to Shikamaru, and Shikamaru basically, then he reacted to the kick after seeing her walk up and knowing that she was going to attack him, or at least, at least he seen the kick coming. It wasn't off guard, because it wasn't off guard like those other scenes that I talked about, like the Momoshiki and Kinshiki thing. They weren't even looking at Shikamaru. They were focused. Momoshiki was focused on Boruto and Naruto. He was trying to deal with them, and Kinshiki was trying to kill Sakura and Sasuke. So they weren't paying attention to Shikamaru. They weren't focused on Shikamaru. Whereas Shikamaru was right in front of Delta. Shikamaru was very on guard, very, very on guard, because I'm pretty sure Delta walked slowly up to him, and then she did the kick. But I digress on that. If you want to use that for a speed feat for Shikamaru and say Shikamaru scales above Delta in speed, or at least Delta levels in speed, and then you think he's equal to KCM 2 plus 6-path Senjutsu Naruto, because that, as I already talked about earlier on in the video, Sakura even scales above that Delta, because Kawaki was capable of moving fast enough to save Naruto from Delta in that fight. And that means that Kawaki scales above Naruto's speed. And then that same Kawaki fought Boro, who got blitzed by Sakura. So Sakura is still stronger than Shikamaru, still faster than Shikamaru, even if you use that Delta feat. Yeah, that's the case with that. And also Sakura, she would be at least relative to that, based on the whole Shin Uchiha stuff that I already talked about. She would be at least relative, at least in the realm of relativity to that speed anyways. But also you got to keep in mind, that's reaction time. Not necessarily travel speed. Is slightly different. You could say Shikamaru is capable of dodging stuff at that speed, but can you say he's fast enough to move at the same speed level as Delta and Naruto? Nah, that's kind of debatable. You can't really say that he's capable of moving that fast. And as far as where Shikamaru ranks in terms of power among the Hokage, he's definitely not in the top 3 like I've heard some people claim, because even if you were to say that the Delta whose kick he dodged, even if you were to say that Delta is equal to in strength and speed to the Delta that fought Naruto, which is never stated or confirmed in the series, even if you were to say that, that still would just mean Shikamaru's reaction time is around Delta / KCM 2 plus 6-path Sage Mode Naruto. That would just put his reaction time around those levels. But just having reaction time around those levels don't mean he will be equal to that version of Naruto. In fact, it would mean only his reaction time is around those levels. But in terms of physical power, Naruto would still be stronger. Naruto would still win in the fight. Shikamaru would stand no chance. And just being, having, good reaction time and, reaction time that's around the same level as another character doesn't mean you're on that same character's level. For example, Naruto was capable of reacting to Kaguya in the Kaguya fight, yet he couldn't beat her by himself. He still needed the help of the rest of Team 7 to beat Kaguya. He couldn't kill her. He had to seal her away with Sasuke. And he couldn't beat her by himself because, she was way stronger than him. Just because his reaction time was around her levels to the point where he was able to react to her moves and stuff like that doesn't mean that he's as strong as Kaguya. So likewise, the same argument applies to Shikamaru. He's nowhere near top tier Hokage level just because he may, and this is not even factual, but just because he may have reaction time around Delta and KCM2 plus 6-path Sage Mode Naruto levels doesn't mean he's all of a sudden, among the top tier Hokage. He's not. Honestly, I think he's the weakest Hokage of all time because firstly, that Delta, thing is already debatable. I've already, given you reasons why that's not necessarily that strong in terms of evidence. But also, even if he were at that, reaction time level, in terms of physical power, he don't stand a chance against any of the other Hokage. Hashirama is way stronger than Shikamaru physically. Even if Shikamaru was fast enough, let's say he was faster than Hashirama, he's still not strong enough to do any real damage to him. That's the problem. That's the problem right there. So, yeah, he's not beating Hashirama. I don't think he's beating Tobirama. Definitely not Minato. I don't even think he's really beating Tsunade, to keep it real with you. He's the weakest Hokage of all time. And yeah, I think that's pretty factual. He's literally the weakest Hokage of all time. His strongest jutsu is a shadow possession jutsu, which may not even be tree levels. The guy is so weak, he may not even be tree levels. Now, Ida, she did get caught by a shadow possession jutsu because, with her charm ability, it was basically, stated that, it caused people to become her captives, love her and stuff. So the shadow possession jutsu, since it's not a deadly jutsu, since it don't do damage, it makes sense that Shikamaru would be able to catch her with that. That also kind of proves my point that the shadow possession jutsu is not really that strong. You can say it's a useful technique, but it's not strong in terms of power. He's not really finishing people off with that. I mean, it's kind of a weak jutsu. And the fact that that's his main jutsu and it's kind of fodder, people can just absorb it and stuff like that. And on top of that, Shikamaru's not faster than a lot of characters in the series. Like I already said, he's not even faster than Sarda. And then you have characters like, Kawaki, Ida, Daemon, etc. Sakura will be at least relative to that Delta. So, yeah, Shikamaru's shadow possession jutsu is kind of weak, bro. It really, I mean, for that to be his main jutsu as the Hokage, and then you have people saying that Shikamaru is the second strongest or the third strongest Hokage of all time, simply due to the fact that he dodged a kick from Delta. Okay, bro. I mean, if you really want to say that, just because he has, you could say he has reaction time that's, around Delta and 6-path Sage Mode plus KCM2 Naruto levels, reaction time. Does that mean he can move that fast? In terms of travel speed? Does that mean he can just blitz all of the past Hokage? I don't think so, bro. And plus, he's pretty weak. I mean, his strongest jutsu, really the main technique he uses is shadow position stuff. So he's really, honestly, he's probably one of the weakest Hokage of all time. I mean, he really is. The only thing he has going for him is maybe he has reaction time that's Delta levels. Maybe. And that's just a maybe. Now, the thing with Ida is she would also be strong enough to beat Shikamaru. Just because he put her in a shadow position jutsu don't mean nothing. He wouldn't be able to kill her with that because, he can't even, because, Shikamaru is her captive basically. So he can trap her with it, but he wouldn't be able to kill her because, the way Ida's ability, her charm ability works, was really omnipotent. The way it works is it makes people fall in love with her or, love her or admire her or whatever. So Shikamaru is not going to be able to kill Ida with that. Plus, Ida's omnipotence, basically, whatever she wants to happen, she can make that happen with her omnipotence. If she just wants to break out of shadow possession jutsu, if it's her will to do so, then through her omnipotent ability, she would just be able to break it easily. So, yeah, that's the case with that. So, yeah, overall, Shikamaru, I'm standing on what I said. He's not in the top 10 strongest characters in the village. If you want to debate, if you want to go back and forth with that whole Delta thing, fine. You could say maybe he might be barely in the top 10. Or you could say he's in the top 10, but he's definitely not in the top 5. And he's not stronger than Sarda. So he's not stronger than Sarada, not stronger than Kawaki. Now, honestly, Sarada could have even been a better candidate than Shikamaru. And some people might, think that's a joke, but no, she's objectively stronger than him. And in terms of intellect, you could say Shikamaru is smarter or whatever. I wouldn't say he's that much smarter, but I guess you could say he's smarter, whatever. That's pretty much the only thing good that he got going for him in terms of, the consideration of Hokage. Well, I guess you could say he has more achievements and more, like, for example, the whole tonnery thing. I guess you can say that. But keep in mind, there has been teenagers who have been made Kage in the past. Gaara was made the Kaze Kage. I believe he was at 14. I believe he was 14 when he was made Kaze Kage. And then you have Yagura, who I think he was in his teenage years, or maybe he was like, I don't know how old he was exactly, but I think he was in his teenage years when he was made Mizukage. Also, the context for that Delta and Shikamaru scene where the new Delta tried to kick Shikamaru and Shikamaru dodged it seemingly, you got to keep in mind the context, which was the fact that not only is that version of Delta never confirmed or stated to be physically stronger or faster than the one that fought Naruto, but also that version of Delta was specifically stated to be reprogrammed to protect Konoha. So she most likely wasn't using her full power or going all out when she looked like she tried to kick Shikamaru. The context for that scene was Ida was stuck in a shadow position jutsu, and she said, "Delta, dear, you see I'm in a bind." And then Delta walked up slowly to Shikamaru and act like she was about to kick him. And then, Shikamaru basically seemed like he dodged the kick. Delta most likely wasn't going all out because that would technically be going against her programming. And that wouldn't even be necessary to get Shikamaru to release the shadow position jutsu. She probably was just going to fake like she was trying to kick him. But the point is that whole scene is really not a good thing to use for Shikamaru power scaling. It really isn't, because there's several problems with that, as I've already explained. Now, when it comes to reaction time and stuff that actually is good to use in versus battles, we have a scene for Sasuke, for example, where he was off guard Sasuke. He was capable of reacting to Ishiki. And the thing about this is, Ishiki didn't walk up slowly to Sasuke like how Delta walked up to Shikamaru. No, Ishiki tried to attack Sasuke. Sasuke, basically reacted immediately. And he didn't just dodge it. No, he literally countered Ishiki. So he was fast enough to react to it, strong enough to counter it. So that's actually good reaction time. That's a good reaction time feat. And it doesn't have any of the problems that I mentioned with this Delta stuff. Also, I know that whoever was chosen to be the 8th Hokage would not have been the strongest character in the village because Ida and Daimon were in the village, and obviously they most likely wasn't considered for the role, given the fact that they were basically foreigners who had just come to the Hidden Leaf Village right before Naruto was sealed away. But the next best option would have been most likely Sakura or maybe Sarada or Kawaki, but since Sarada and Kawaki are kind of young, they most likely would not have been chosen for the role. So Sakura would have been the next best option. Keep in mind, the Hidden Leaf Village Hokage needs to be someone who's capable of protecting the Hidden Leaf Village. It's not a coincidence that all of the Hokage, with the exception of maybe 3, if you want to count Naruto after he lost Kurama, after he lost the Biju chakra, all of the other Hokage were the strongest in the village during their reign as Hokage, with the exception of basically 3, Kakashi, Shikamaru, and Naruto after he lost Kurama. But Naruto, before he lost Kurama, he was, excluding Sasuke since he was like most likely, outside of the village during the most time in Naruto's run. But, Naruto was the strongest, excluding Sasuke. So, yeah, the Hokage should be someone who's strong enough to protect the Hidden Leaf Village, because if they're relying on other shinobi to protect the Hidden Leaf Village, shinobi who aren't always in the village, that's going to cause problems. For example, like when Sasuke had to come and save the Hidden Leaf Village from a meteor because Kakashi wasn't strong enough to do it. Kakashi was just standing there doing nothing. And you're going to have a similar case with Shikamaru. Like, even when Cold attacked the village, Shikamaru was relying on other characters like Kawaki and, Sarada and Team 10 to protect the Hidden Leaf Village. If that was Naruto, Naruto would have been on the front lines fighting the enemy. Like, he wouldn't just be sitting in the Hokage's office while, Hidden Leaf Village shinobi's lives are in danger. But that's what you have Shikamaru doing, because he's one of the weakest Hokage of all time. No, he's the weakest Hokage of all time. So, yeah, just because I've seen people try to use this excuse that, oh, well, whoever was going to be the Hokage wasn't going to be the strongest anyways, because if Sakura was Hokage, then she still wouldn't be stronger than Ida and Daimon. Yeah, that's the case. She wouldn't have been stronger than Ida and Daimon, but she's at least stronger than Shikamaru, and they should have chosen their most qualified candidate who is the strongest and who's still capable of leading the village and who's still smart. Just because Sakura may not be as smart as Shikamaru doesn't mean she's not smart. I'm pretty sure she had the second best grades in the academy after Sasuke. And in terms of like, the written stuff, I think she was actually more skilled than Sasuke. And then if you look at her feats throughout the series, she is, rivaling, as a matter of fact, most likely above Shikamaru. She defeated a stronger Akatsuki member than Shikamaru. And Shikamaru had to take 2 tries to defeat an Akatsuki member where she took 1. And, she had a harder time in the Chunin exams fighting harder opponents. Shikamaru didn't even beat Tamori. He forfeited. So, and then, Sakura saved the Shinobi world multiple times, whereas Shikamaru you can only credit him 1 time, which was during a Tonari incident. But Sakura, she took part in the Kaguya fight as well. So that's the case with that. I want to talk about some of the parallels, because it's kind of funny to me that, this whole thing happened. Now, Shikamaru, he was made Hokage simply due to the plot, honestly. It's kind of like plot armor. He got lucky by the plot because, Kishimoto wanted to give Sasuke some amazing character development. And yes, Sasuke did have some great character development in Boruto. Him trusting his daughter after he was a pessimistic character in Shippuden, to the point where he didn't believe in Naruto's ideology of creating peace through negotiation until like after their battle. Naruto had to really talk Sasuke into that. But yeah, Sasuke was kind of like pessimistic to the point where he was going to try to rule over the whole world, because despite the fact that, Naruto pointed out that the villages all came together and they're allies now. And Sasuke was like, oh, well, that's only because they had a common enemy. So Sasuke, was very pessimistic in Shippuden. But in Boruto, you can see he got tons of character development because he was willing to make a big risk, like leaving a hidden leaf village and protecting someone who's perceived as being a criminal just because of what his daughter said. Well, that's not the only reason, but that's the main reason, is because what his daughter said, and he believed in his daughter. So he went from being kind of like, not trusting of people. So he went from being cynical to, to being trusting of other people. So that makes sense. Yeah, very good character development with Sasuke. But Shikamaru got lucky. Sasuke was outside the village, and Sakura, maybe she has some suspicion on her because of that. She's, the wife of Sasuke. So yeah, that's the case with that stuff. Now I want to talk about some parallels. Don't you guys find it funny that, Madara and Sasuke, they should have been Hokage, but they both got kind of snubbed at that title. They both got overlooked. Like, if Hashirama was saying like, Madara, you can be the second Hokage, but Madara was saying no, Tobirama is going to be the second Hokage. That was Madara's suspicion. It's a kind of a funny parallel because, Naruto, similar to Hashirama, he was also a reincarnation of Ashura. He became Hokage. And then you have the reincarnation of Indra, who's alongside of the reincarnation of Ashura, the strongest in the village. Yet he gets, he gets overlooked for the Hokage title. Or in the case with Sasuke, is because he's outside the village. But yeah, Sasuke obviously should have been the chosen to be Hokage if it wasn't going to be Naruto. But due to the plot, he couldn't be chosen. That's kind of a parallel with Madara. And also Tobirama and Shikamaru are very similar in terms of how they act. Like Shikamaru, he kind of acts like Tobirama in Boruto. He's very, very strict. So he kind of acts like Tobirama in Boruto. Also, another cool thing I want to point out is, now that Shikamaru is the Hokage, that means Shikadai, he's related to more Hokage than any other character in the series. He's literally related to the 4th Kazekage, the 5th Kazekage, and the current 8th Hokage. So he's related to Kage from different villages. That's very cool for Shikadai, but he's really not that strong of a character. So, but it's a nice little a cool thing, and I think that's kind of unprecedented in a Naruto series for there to be somebody who's related by blood to multiple Kage from different villages. So that's pretty cool. Also, that means that Tamori, she's married to the Hokage, and she's the sister of the Kazekage. Nice little thing to point out there as well. And also, Shikamaru was the first and only member of his clan to be made the Hokage. The only member of the Nora clan to be made Hokage. So yeah, that's the stuff I wanted to talk about with Shikamaru being made the 8th Hokage. If you guys liked the video, please drop a like. Let me know what everything you thought of the stuff I've said in the video in the comment section below. Let me know what you will rate the video in the comment section below. And let me know if you think Shikamaru was the right choice to be made the 8th Hokage. If you guys like the video, please drop a like. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing and clicking that channel notification bell to be notified of all of my future videos. And share the video all over the internet. Drop a comment below and let me know what you thought of the video and what would you rate the video in the comment section below. With that being said, thank you guys for watching the video, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace out.